Hi, my name's Richard Duffy. I'm the Acumatica Product Evangelist and I'm also Vice President of Partner Enablement. What I'm going to be doing in this demonstration is I'm going to be taking you through a business process flow. So what's a business process flow? Well, we're basically going to go through a typical scenario that you might encounter in your business. Let me give you an example. I'm going to take you through what we call the lead to cash process. This is the process where you get an incoming lead, comes into your sales team, and we're going to follow that process all the way through to creating an opportunity. We're going to then create a quote, turn that quote into a sales order, invoice that sales order, and then, as hopefully happens in your business, we're then going to process the payment for the invoice. So that's what we call lead to cash. So we go right from the lead process right through to when you get paid. All right. But what I want to do is I want to make sure that, just in case this is the very first time you've seen Acumatica, I just want to spend a couple of minutes and take you through some of the basics of working with the application. So Acumatica, the thing you need to bear in mind, Acumatica is 100% web-based. It is a cloud-based enterprise resource planning application. What does that mean? Well, you only need a web browser to access Acumatica. We manage and we run all of the software in the background for you under our software as a service model, where you just pay for access to the application. Now, you also have a couple of other choices with Acumatica. Most people choose our software as a service model because that makes it nice and simple. But there are some organizations who say, you know what, we want to put the software in our own hosting center and run it in a private cloud, so we can give you the software in that model as well. And some organizations aren't quite ready to make that move to the cloud, so they say, you know what, I feel much more comfortable if I know that I can point across to a server in the corner of my office and say, that's my server over there and that's where my data sits and I have total control. So we can deliver Acumatica to you in that model as well. So just bear that in mind. But whichever way you choose to access the software, all you need is a web browser, no software to install on any of the PCs. So that means basically that, let's say for example, if I'm on the road, let's say I'm at the frequent flyer lounge at the airport, and I just need to go online and access my Acumatica system. Well, I can do that securely in an encrypted fashion. I just go open up my web browser and I access www.tryacumatica.com. Now this is our demo system. It's always up and available for you. And even if you want to follow along as I'm going through this demonstration on another PC, you can access that exact same website. So what you're basically looking at here is the main user interface of Acumatica. So once I've gone to www.tryacumatica.com, I get my main login screen. And each time I refresh this screen, one of the things you'll notice is just this little image is going to change each time, just to give you a little bit of variety. Now you can tailor all of this experience for you. So you can put your own company logo there. You can do basically anything you want with the user interface. Why? Because it's a web-based solution. So these are basically web pages that we're working with, so you have total flexibility and total control over that. Now I use a little bit of security software which helps me remember my passwords. In this case, I'm going to log in as the administrator, and the username is admin, and the password is 123. Now we keep it nice and simple like that so that you can go and access this same site that I'm using. Matter of fact, you can follow along now if you want, and that's at www.tryacumatica.com. You log in as admin and 123. Now you'd never use a password that's that short in a production environment, but just to make it easy for you in the demo scenario, we've kept it that simple. So then once I put in my username and password, then I click the login button, and that's where the magic happens. So what the system's now basically doing is it's logging me onto the Acumatica software, and it's bringing me into my dashboard. Now, Acumatica is completely role-based. What do I mean by that? If you think about it, in your organization, maybe you're big enough that you are able to just focus on one job. Maybe you're just not just the sales manager, but maybe you're the sales manager. Perhaps you might be in a situation where not only do you fulfill the sales manager's role, but occasionally you have to go in and you have to act as the warehouse manager, or potentially you even have to go in and do requisitioning, so you might be responsible for handling purchasing. Well, what Acumatica does, you can see here in the dashboards, we have a number of these different dashboards. I'm currently configured as a sales manager, so I'm in the sales manager dashboard, and that's the one that comes up first for me. But I've got these other dashboards. So for example, I've got my sales tasks. So if I'm a normal sales order entry person, then I might have my sales tasks dashboard. Let's say I'm responsible for doing purchasing. Well, I also have my requisition dashboard. And what you'll see about all of these dashboards is that what they allow you to do is they allow you to configure the dashboards either in a graphical mode with, if you like, a picture, a graphical representation of a business process, or like we're looking at here with the requisition dashboard, it's basically a checklist. So it says, you know, click here to set up the customer account, click here to request the products you want to order, and so on. Now let's say, for example, I'm a finance person, so I might go into my financial dashboard. And the dashboard you're seeing here, well, it's going to show the key things that are important for me as a finance professional. I might then go into the CRM dashboard, and in the CRM dashboard, I've got my process flow for how I handle all my customer relationship management. Now, the good thing about Acumatica, again, as I said, if you know how to use your web browser, you pretty much automatically know how to work with Acumatica. Even simple things. So for example, let's say my screen resolution isn't exactly the way I want. Well, let's say I want to fit more in onto my screen. Well, there's a couple of different things I can do. I can go up here, for example, and I can zoom in, or I can zoom out. So I can see even more on my screen depending on how I want it to work. I'm going to go back to my 100% view. And a couple of other things I can do with Acumatica as well. This is my little sidebar, my navigation panel. I can just shut that down at any particular point in time just by simply clicking on that little chevron icon there, and then I can bring it back across. Now you'll see Acumatica is designed to take advantage of, or to work with, what we call high latency connections. So if your connection to the internet is a little bit slow, Acumatica really doesn't care about that. We use a combination of technologies that specifically helps you address that. So a couple of other things with the user interface as well. What Acumatica does is Acumatica uses what we call responsive design. What do I mean by responsive design? Well, let me give you an example. Let's say I go into my sales tasks and I want to enter a sales order. I can click here on enter sales order, and what you'll see happen is my sales order screen is going to open up for me. And then in my sales order screen, it's a fairly busy screen. All right, out of the box, we've kind of tried to give you a best practice version of each of these screens, which you can customize. But this is a fairly busy screen. So you've got all these buttons, and then down the bottom here, so this is your header of your sales order, and then you've got all your line information here. So for example, document details, tax details, how your commission's being calculated, the financial settings, the payment settings, shipping settings, and so on. Now, I can just quickly move that navigation panel across to the side, but it's still, you know, I've still got all this information here. Now, watch what happens when I go and I change the screen layout size. As my screen size changes, keep an eye on these functions along the bottom here. As my screen size changes, what do you see happen? All right, you saw them jump down to the bottom. I can also get rid of those buttons at the top, so I can use that little chevron there to bring that up. And then as I move across, you'll see all of those other functions disappear, but they haven't disappeared. All that's happened is they've dropped down in underneath this little menu option underneath our chevron icon. So that's so that you can take basically any device and you can access that one URL, whether you're using an iPhone, an iPad, and maybe you're using a Galaxy Tab, you're using a laptop, you're operating with a screen that's in landscape mode, or maybe it's in portrait mode, and you can navigate around in the system very, very quickly and easily. Now, I'm using a touch screen here as well. So Acumatica is also designed so it works really well with touch screens. So all I have to do, for example, now you can't see my finger behind the screen, but all I have to do is you'll see my hand's off the mouse now. All I have to do is use my touchscreen functions, and Acumatica works beautifully with the touch screens. The buttons are nice and big, so I can use my finger to navigate throughout the system. If I want to go back to my first sales order in the system, I can click on that little video button there. If I want to go to my document details, I can tap on that. Then if I want to bring my menu back up, again, all I need to do is go ahead and tap on my chevron. Up comes the menu. Oh, and by the way, if you want to navigate backwards, you've got a couple of choices. You can use your back function here, which is going to take you backwards. Or what I can even do is I can just use the standard back browser buttons. All right, so as I said, you know how to use a web browser, you know how to use Acumatica. So then let's get into, hopefully that was helpful in terms of giving you a little bit of an understanding of how to navigate around the system. And then of course I can go up here with one tap, I'm now back into my full screen mode. So let's go into our end-to-end business process flow, our lead to cash process, and I'll show you exactly how that works. Now remember, this is a demonstration, it's not training. I don't expect you to walk away from having watched this and be able to drive the Acumatica solution. That's not my purpose here. My purpose is just to give you an overview of exactly how the process works. Suffice it to say that when you decide, and if you decide to become an Acumatica customer, maybe you are an Acumatica customer already and you're just watching this for the entertainment value. Hopefully there is some entertainment value here, but your partner will basically work with you and train you how to use the software, and we provide a whole range of training materials, and I'll take you through some of those things in some of the other videos that are also available from the same site that you're accessing this. But this is a demonstration, not training, so I'm going to skip over some things, all right, and just focus on the process. So here I am. I'm here in my my sales tasks dashboard. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to enter a sales lead. So all I do is I click here on enter sales leads. So when I'm doing my leads, I can either create a lead from scratch or I can import leads. Let's say, for example, you might have attended let's say maybe you attended a trade show. Now, here's the great thing about Acumatica. If you're at a trade show, you can enter the leads in directly because all you need is an internet connection, and let's face it, most trade shows nowadays, they provide you with Wi-Fi, they provide you with an internet connection. Maybe you might have hired one of the data collection applications that they give you at those trade shows. We just did one recently where that's exactly what we did. And then at the end of the trade show, they just gave us an Excel spreadsheet. Well, you can bring data straight into Acumatica using an Excel spreadsheet, and we have an importing tool that allows you to do that. Check the other videos to see exactly how that works. But in this particular instance, I'm going to go through the process. I've just picked up the phone, I've got a call from a prospective customer, and now I just want to record the details about that. So all I do is I go here, I'm going to get rid of our navigation panel just to give me maximum screen real estate to work with. So I'm now basically creating my lead. So my status here right now, it's new. So I've got these other statuses here. I can say it's open, suspended as the lead goes through the process, but this is new. And then what am I going to do? I'm going to assign the lead. So this is for Mr. And then I'll go in here and say the person I was speaking to was Robert, and Robert's last name was Harris. So I'll put in his name. So what's his position? Well, he was the CEO. And now here's the concept of a business account. Now a business account is really like the accounts receivable or the accounts payable master. I don't need to put that in. Matter of fact, the only information I need to record right now in order to save this lead is just the last name and a lead class. And you'll see those are highlighted for me. They've just got the little asterisk next to them. So that's basically saying these are the fields that you need to put in. But I'm going to put in some more details. So this is from Harris Systems and Networks LLC. And now Acumatica also supports the concept of parent business accounts. So I can say this account belongs to a parent business account. So for example, if you're working through a distribution network, maybe you have partners, the same way we do at Acumatica, where we make our products available and our products are sold through partners. We get inbound inquiries, we allocate those to partners. That's what this functionality is there for. I then go in and I put in my email address. So it's rharris@hsnllc.com. All right, so Harris System Networks. Now, the reason why we put all this in, because there's all built-in email functionality right inside Acumatica, and you'll even see there's little icons there. So if I just wanted to send him an email now, I just click on the email icon. So very graphical, very intuitive to work with. I put in what's their web address, www.harrissystemsandnetworksllc.com, and then I can jump to that. So then I start putting in my phone numbers. Again, what are the phone numbers? Business 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So total flexibility there. So then I'll put in the phone number. All right. And if you try picking up that phone number and ringing it, you're actually going to get me. So feel free to call me if you've got any questions. That's my mobile number. I can also then record the phone number, the fax number, and so on and so forth. Now I can go in here and I can start recording a source of this lead. So did it come through the web? Did it come through a phone inquiry? Did it come through a referral? Well, in this case, this was a phone inquiry, but here's an interesting point with Acumatica. If you visit the Acumatica website at www.acumatica.com and you register to access a demonstration or anything like that, we use a piece of software called HubSpot. And HubSpot's what we use to do all of our marketing automation. Well, Acumatica is seamlessly integrated with HubSpot. So when you fill out one of those forms on HubSpot on our website, that actually automatically comes into Acumatica, because funnily enough, we use our own software. So that automatically flows through. So you've got total flexibility there. Maybe you might use Constant Contact. Maybe you're using MailChimp or one of these other programs. Maybe you're using Aweber. There's a whole range of those different applications that are available to you. And we have integration technology that allows you to build that integration, and your partner can help you go through that process. Or you'll see another demonstration of that integration technology. It's actually point and click. So depending on your level of technical expertise, you may even choose to do that yourself. What I'm also able to do is we have marketing automation, basic marketing automation built into the system. So I can, for example, I can create marketing campaigns in the system, and then I can say, okay, which of these marketing campaigns generated this lead? So this came in off our New Year campaign. And then of course I've got all of my contact methods available. I can use any contact method, and then of course to keep up with the latest privacy laws and can spam, you can specify here, do not call, do not email, whatever the case may be. And then when you're generating mailing lists to do your campaigns, your outbound campaigns, which you can do in Acumatica, you can refactor those things in so people don't get called or people don't get mailed if they've asked not to be. So then I put in my address details. So what I'm going to use for an address, I'm just going to use the standard Acumatica physical location. So we are at 4030 Lake Washington Boulevard, Northeast, and we are at Suite 100, and we are in beautiful sunny Kirkland, and we're in the United States, and we are in Washington. So again, you'll see with Acumatica, where there is underlying information, you just need to put in the first couple of characters and the system will automatically do a search and a lookup for you and give you the ability to make that choice. Why is that important? Well, that's important because it fundamentally means that your data is kept clean, all right? You don't have to worry about people blue skying, going off-road, starting to type in whatever they wanted. You can make sure that it's narrowed down. Then I can say, all right, that's all good. I'm ready to go. What do I want to do? Do I want to record any more attributes? Attributes are important because one, they're user defined. Two, you can set them up so that they can be set up as pick lists. So for example, I can say, you know, from an industry perspective, I get a list of all the standard industries. Now, we can pre-populate this with a standard list of industries, but if you really need to get really specific and you get down to the North American Industry Classification System codes, or you get down to the standard industry classification codes, which get down to, I think it's around about 7 characters, you can really get that to that level of detail if you want. But this particular one, well, they're in computers, internet, and e-commerce. How many employees do they have? Again, in our demo data, we've set it up into bands. So this is 1 to 100. What's the company revenue? Again, bands of revenue. They're between 1 and 5 million. And then what are they looking for? Well, in this particular instance, in my demonstration data, I've set up these options. Well, they are looking for electronics and computers. All right. So again, the thing to remember about these attributes is they are unlimited. So you can set up as many as you want, and those attributes can apply across multiple screens. You'll see that in some of the later demonstrations. But it really does give you the ability to get very, very specific in tracking your prospects, tracking your customers, and really seeing who's doing what, and then being able to select all that information when you're doing your reports or your dashboards. So then after I've done that, I've then got my activities. So the secret to this is that it's not just about tracking the master file information. That's of course critical, but it's then tracking how do you interact with that customer. When did I have phone calls with them? When did I have meetings? Did I go out to dinner? Did I go and do a site visit? Did they get a demonstration? So all those activities that you can track, you can manage here inside Acumatica. But what we're also able to then do is we can go across here and we can then look at relationships as well. So you can build a picture of the customer, that this is the person inside this customer, he's the CEO, and then this is the person who's the CIO, and this person, maybe she's the CFO, and you can start to build all those relationships and get a really good picture of the people inside your organization. But again, let me really stress this. If you don't want to use that, you don't have to. All right, the system is designed to be as simple as you want, or for want of a better term, as complex as you need. So that's one of the things when people look at, well, they say, how do I choose which is the right software for me? It really does come down to the business processes that you're trying to automate and how complex those business processes are. So bear that in mind. I'm showing you a bunch of these things. You could just go in when you're doing your lead entry, you can enter the details and that's it. And then all you have to do is you just hit the save button. All right. And again, you can do that with your mouse, or again, I have 5 fingers and I'm not afraid to use them. I can just go across here and just tap the save button. And there it is. My record is now saved for me. So that's it. That's my lead created. So then that's great. I've got the person on the phone. I've created the lead. Well, what do I want to do? Maybe I now want to convert them to a contact or convert them to an opportunity. So people go, well, what's the difference between a contact and an opportunity? Well, what I can do is I can just say that this was a lead, but now it's become a contact because they're not ready to do anything. It's not a sales opportunity yet, but it's now just a contact that I want to keep a record of. So I can simply convert them to a contact. Or I can convert them into a business account, which really is kind of like turning them into a customer. All right, now that account can be somebody who trades with me on cash terms. Maybe I might want to give them credit terms or whatever the case may be. But it's that basic accounts receivable or accounts payable business master file. Or I can say, you know what, I'm not quite ready to do that, but I now want to start tracking an opportunity. So I go in here and I just say convert to opportunity, and the system works away in the background. And what it's now done, you'll see I've got my little icon up there, and that tells me when the system's working. It's now converted this into an opportunity, and you'll see the screen's automatically changed and it's brought up the opportunity screen. Now, when I'm looking at the opportunity, you'll see I've got a whole range of different things that I can now do with the opportunity. Okay, it's now giving me the ability to record additional information under the opportunity. I can record additional information about how I want to track it internally. So for example, I now have the ability to track branches and projects, because Acumatica is full multi-company and also gives you the ability to have multiple branches inside each company. So when you're setting up your company structure, you can certainly handle that. And by the way, full multi-currency as well, because that's an important area. We also have project accounting functionality in the solution, so I'm able to create projects and track all kinds of transactions against those projects. But here I am, I've basically got my opportunity, and now here is my my details about that. Now I can record some details here in this basic area down the bottom, so I can record some details about the opportunity, or I can create a note and I can attach a note to this opportunity. So I'm creating a record level note, and I can keep adding to this. I can do whatever I want. So I can add the details in here, I can add the details down here, or I can go one step further and I'm able to go in and create activities and record notes against those activities. Why am I telling you all this? Again, it comes down to flexibility. I don't think you'll really be in a situation with Acumatica where you're saying, gee, I don't have enough area, or I don't have enough spaces to record the details. One of the things that our partner will do when you're deploying your Acumatica system is they will talk with you, understand your business process, and help you decide which is the best way to do that based on best practices as a result of them having implemented Acumatica and other ERP solutions for companies just like you. So don't worry, we're not going to just dump the software on your doorstep and say, have a nice day. Our partner will work with you. But you do have the opportunity there if you say, you know, we're pretty good. We think we can handle it on our own. We don't recommend it, but you can certainly go down that path. So here's my opportunity. It's now come in here. It's brought across all the information. There he is. There's Robert Harris. Again, I can put in a manual amount for the opportunity if I haven't gone through the process of creating a quote. So I can say, yep, it's a manual amount. Right now, on the basis of talking to Robert, I think this opportunity is going to be worth $10,000 to us. I'm not going to give him a discount because I haven't got to the negotiation phase yet. I'm just starting to do this for my sales forecasting. Then I can go in here and I can say, all right, Robert is looking for, because he's a smart person, a new ERP solution. He heard about Acumatica, so I'm using a scenario where this company actually sells Acumatica, the company in our demo data. So he heard about Acumatica and wants to know more. All right, just some high-level notes. Maybe you've got an outsourced telemarketing firm who you give access to this system and they just put in the basic details. Well, that's it. That's all good. I can then go in. You'll see my attributes have automatically been brought across, so we know he was looking for electronics and computers. And then I can go in here to my activities and I can say, you know what? I need to add an activity. So now you're thinking to yourself, well, hang on, why are those things grayed out? Well, that's because Acumatica is a pretty smart piece of software. It's what we call context aware, so the functionality is context sensitive. Notice the opportunity ID is new, so I haven't saved it yet. So what do I have to do? I just hit my save button. All right, it's just giving me a little error message there saying, hey, you haven't completed the record the right way. So it says, raise an error, please review. Now, it's not just a case of you having to be smart enough to know, well, gee, what was the error? We've actually highlighted that for you. And we've said, hey, here's the error. The subject field may not be empty. So, new Acumatica ERP opportunity. All right. And so now I can hit the save button, and now the opportunity is saved. You can see there's my opportunity number. I can now come in here, and when I say add activity, these are now active. So I can go in here and I can say, well, I'm going to add a chat. And what does it do? Opens up a little pop-up and gives me the ability to record the chat. Now, let's say you're using some kind of computer telephony system, you're using some kind of IP-based PBX system, and you want to have the system integrate to that so it does screen pops. Well, you can do all of those kinds of things with Acumatica. So I can put in, maybe you're using web-based chat, so I can take all of the information from my web-based chat and just create it and attach it directly to Acumatica. but I'll just put it in here manually. So this was my initial call, and what was it? Again, you'll see this is a chat, so I can change the type here. Was it a message, a note, a phone call? No, it was a chat, so we'll select that. Now this work group and owner, just so you're aware, that comes back to what I was saying earlier about how you can control who has access and visibility to this information. Right now, I'm the owner of the record, but anybody in my work group called executive, they can also see this record as well, okay? And then what I can do, I can, if I want to, I can now allocate a task as well. And all these tasks are all user definable, so you can define what are the tasks that have to happen. Acumatica also supports workflow, so you can even automate that process. So the system says, all right, well, if this was an initial call, the next task that has to automatically be scheduled is, I don't know, a handoff to a sales engineer, or maybe a credit check. So all of those processes can be done, and you'll see that in some of the other demonstrations. So again, I can put in the details of the call, discussed, Robert's requirements. I'm not going to make you sit here and watch me type. Basically, I can put in as much information as I want in here, or I can cut and paste it from another application, as I said. Oh, and by the way, this is all web-based, so if I want to start flagging this, I can say, attention, potential high value customer. And so what I might want to do here is I'll select that, and then I can go in here and say, let's flag that in red, so anybody that's looking at it automatically draws their attention to it. So then I go in here and I can say, all right, is this an internal activity that I only want people inside our organization to see, or do I want my partner to see it if I'm working with partners on opportunities? I can also go here and say track time. What it now allows me to do is record the amount of time I spent on this, because inside Acumatica, in our project accounting system, inside the software, you can also track time billing, and expenses as well. But let's say I'm a salesperson, I don't need to track my time, so again, I can just untick that, gets rid of that information for me, and then I'll say save and close, brings me back in, and there you can see, there's the record there of the activity that I created. So that's it, that's all good. Don't need to do any other activity because it automatically saves that and updates it. So then what's the next step? Well, the next step might be to now create an account. I can also do my inquiries here if I've created invoices or sales orders. But again, I can't do that. Why? Because there isn't an account created yet. So let's say we've gone through the sales process and Robert's now ready to become a customer. So all I do is I just say create account. It's going to ask me, do you want to put in a business account ID manually, or do you want the system to allocate that for you automatically? There's the company name from the prospect, from the, remember, came in as a lead, we turned it into an opportunity, the information flows through. I can just say create. Now it's just wanting me, hey, the system's configured, you need to put in a business account ID. So I'm going to go in and put that in, so HSN LLC, and then I'll say create. And now watch what happens on the screen here. As soon as this process is finished running, it's creating the account, and it's automatically now opening the record up for me in the business account screen. Now I'm working with a business account, the things that I can now track, because we're starting to get into a record type that involves accounting transactions, I can track a lot more information now. So now it starts asking me about additional information. Right now it starts asking me about things like delivery settings. It also starts asking me about things like how my accounting is done with this particular customer. But in this particular instance, what I'm able to now do is I can go ahead and save that business account. So that's all good. I'm happy with that. Now I can go in here and I've got my business account. I now want to make a decision. Am I going to convert them to a customer, convert them to a vendor? Well, I'm going to convert them to a customer, because you'll notice right now they are a prospect. So now I've converted them into a customer, and now I get all these other additional pieces of information. What are my billing settings, delivery settings, payment methods that I want to allocate? What are the general ledger accounts that I want to get updated when I start processing transactions for this customer, and so on. So I'm going to hit the save button, and then I can come up here. Now I can start creating other activities. Easy for me to say. I can now go ahead and start creating other actions. So I can view the business account, I can create a new invoice, or I can go from here and create a sales order. So you see, the transactions can flow in a very natural process. But you know what? I can say, you know what, that's it. I'm now finished. I've done everything I needed to do there. Well, the next step is I'm now going to wait for Robert to call me back. So Robert then calls me back. I go on with other things. I'm doing my other day job. I get a call from Robert, and he says, well, I'm ready to place an order. So what do? Well, now I can go here into my distribution, because we've got all this menuing functionality up here, so you can drive the software through the menus, and I can go here and I can say, let's go into sales orders. And what do I want to do? Do I want to enter a sales order? Well, yes, I do. Now, let's go back to our dashboards. If I want to jump back to my dashboards, I just click up here on my Acumatica button. Takes me straight back to my dashboard that's set up for me as the sales manager. I can also go in here now, and I can just use this functionality here and click on enter sales order, and it opens up the sales order for me. So again, I'm showing you that to show you the different ways that you can navigate throughout the system depending on your level of skill. Now, the risk of sounding like a late night television salesperson, but wait, there's more. What I can do at any particular point in time, if this is a screen that I use on a regular basis, I'm able to add it as a favorite. So you'll notice across here I have my little star button. This is my favorites. If I click on here, it gives me the ability just to see the favorites that I have. All right? And what I can do at any particular point in time, if this is a screen that I use on a regular basis, then what I'm able to do is I'm able to go in here and I can add this as a favorite. So it automatically comes up here. Again, what's the key to this? We don't make any assumptions about how you want to drive the system, but we do deliver out of the box a best practice implementation. So you can get running quickly, start getting a return on your investment as quickly as possible. But then as you get more familiar with the system, you can start adding new layers of flexibility. Implementing ERP is a little bit like being a doctor. The first rule of being a doctor is first do no harm. So we want to make sure that we can deliver everything that you're getting with your current system, and then we can start taking you and introducing gradually at a rate that you're comfortable with all these improvements in your business process. So hopefully that makes sense. So again, we were talking about the favorites, and just to recap, again, here's my favorites here, and if I want to add this sales order screen to my favorites, there's my little star. When I hover over any one of these fields, again, you'll notice this in Acumatica, it always tells you what the button does. So I just click there on add to favorites, and then you see there it is, there's my sales orders across here now in favorites. So I can access it through there. I can go up here into sales orders and enter sales orders, or of course where we started was back in the dashboards. But anyway, let's continue on. I'm just going to get rid of my navigation pane, maximize my available screen space. So what's my order type? Well, I can enter in as many of these different order types as I want, and these are all user definable. So we could start with a quote, for example, then turn that quote into a sales order, turn the sales order into a picking slip, then turn the picking slip into an invoice, and then generate a credit note off the invoice or do a payment. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with a quote. So I select the quote type, and on the basis of what I specify here, it changes the way that the functionality in the application works. Again, this is part of like what I like to call a progressive reveal. You can, as I said before, make the software as simple as you want or as complex as you need, and a lot of that in the sales order entry process is tied to how you configure those sales order types. I won't go into the details of that, but just bear that in mind. So it's a quote. So now, what do I want to put in? Well, what's the date? Well, it's automatically picking today's date. When was it requested? Well, it's requested on this date, but of course, I can say, well, this is requested. They want it for my birthday, so I expect to receive birthday cards from everybody on the 12th of December. And then I've got my customer order number or a customer reference number. So this is a quote, so I wouldn't have a customer order number at this particular point, but I might have a customer reference number. So they might have a project code or something like that. So I can just record that in. Now, of course, I want to select who is my customer. So in this particular instance, I can do a lookup and it gives me a screen pop and I can start doing a search here. Again, I type in Harris and then what do I find? There it is, there's Harris Systems and Networks, or of course, I can just start typing in here and again, I get that lookup there. So there's a couple of different ways that works. It's really a matter of what's most comfortable for you. You can start off using the lookups or you can just go in this fashion and just let the system automatically prompt that in for you. So there it is. There's my location, there's my currency. Now remember I said we do full multi-currency. So my base currency for this sample data is US dollars, but I can then go ahead, for example, I can do this quote in British pounds, or I can do it in euros or Singapore dollars, or whatever the currency is that I've set up. And by the way, you can even set up with web services so that those currencies are automatically updated for you on from an external exchange rate source. All right, so now I'm going to put in my description here. So this is a quote for new software and hardware. All right, so that's it. That's ready to go. So now I start putting in the details. Again, I just go here and I say add row. Same thing occurs here, which is my branch. Right now it's defaulting to the headquarters because that's where I've told the system that's where I want this particular customer's records to be kept at the headquarter level. So then I'm going to put in my inventory ID and I can now see all of my products. Now, by the way, you've got total flexibility over how all of these screens look. If you know how to drive Excel, you can tailor the screens. For example, let's say you want the price to actually come up across here. Well, then I just simply drag it and drop it, and then the price is now across here. If I want the item class to be moved across to here, then I drag it and drop it, that's over there. Then I've got multiple units of measure, and I can also go into any one of these headers, and just by simply clicking on the header, I can tell it, do I want it to sort ascending, sort descending, do I want to put in filters, or I can even create my own filters on the fly. And then I can have these filters come in a drop-down list. So I can click here on the filter settings and I can build as simple or as complex a filter statement as I want. So I could even say, if the customer that the screen is referring to at the moment is in this group, then only select products from that group. So if you're working with potentially hundreds of thousands of product lines, rather than have to sort through all of that, you can configure the filters so it makes it really, really easy for you to do your data entry. Again, just comes down to what are you trying to achieve with the software, what works for you, how does your business process work. All right, so I can build those filters, but in this case, they want their Acer laptop computer. Now, I can just let the standard description come in. I'm going to let that happen, but I've set it up so I can, if I want to, I can override this description. Now, the good thing about Acumatica, what do you see down the bottom? It's just telling you, on hand you've got 87, you've got 32 are actually available to promise because I've already got sales orders in for the balance. So my available to ship right now is 32. So that's good. It's telling me straight away what have I got that I can make available. And then I go and I put in my quantity. Well, they wanted 10. So I put in my 10. So what it's now doing, it goes in and will pick the appropriate price, because if I set up price lists with quantity breaks, Acumatica will handle that as well. There's my unit price. That's all good. Is it a free item or am I applying a manual discount? No, I'm not. But you'll see there's a whole range of additional fields that are available over here for you. All right, now you're saying, wow, that's really complex. Do I have to put in all of that? No, you don't. You put in the information you want. And by the way, if you don't want some of those fields to be available, it's really easy to tailor the system accordingly. I'm just going to quickly hit the save button on this because I don't want to lose this item. All right, so I'm going to hit save. And that's now done. So how do I know that's saved? Well, before I had a little pencil icon here, now I don't. Now, as I was saying, a lot of data in here. Do I want to see all of that? No, I don't. So all I have to do, go up here and click on my little filing cabinet and it just says, okay, these are all the fields you're seeing. These are all the fields that are available. So I can say, you know what? I don't want any of this information. So I can just say, you know what? Let's get rid of it. Let's get rid of the alternate ID. Let's get rid of the project task. Let's get rid of the PO type. Let's get rid of the PO number. Now, by the way, those things are there because you can create purchase orders and link them to the sales order. So even if you don't have the stock, you can create a purchase order and then have that purchase order. When that purchase order comes in, you receive the goods. It tells you, hey, you can now release this sales order. In this particular instance, I'm doing a quote, but you get the general idea. Again, thresholds on underships and overships, I can get rid of those. Okay, that's enough. Oh, and by the way, I can also use this function here to move my fields up and down. So again, if I want to move the price up, there it is. I move the price up. Warehouse is the next one. Maybe the next field I want to see is the quantity. I hit save and voila, you see the screen has changed and a bunch of those other fields are now gone from my grid. All right, so very, very easy to work with inside Acumatica. So that's it. I've created my quote. Well, now what do I want to do? Maybe I might want to email this sales order or quote to the customer. All right, so I just choose email, and what does it do? It automatically commits that order or commits that quote just to make sure it's all saved, and then it's going in using our report writer and it's formatting that quote using the layout that I've designed, and you can have as many different of these layouts as you want. It's using the layout that I've designed, and it has automatically sent that email for me. Not going to pop it up on the screen and ask me to do anything, but I can do that if I want to. Right now, I've just set that up as an automated process. Let's keep the process simple. Let's make it easy for people to do. And one of the things you'll now notice up here in my activities, it's now saying, hey, you've got one activity. If I click on that, so now you can see there it is. There's the email and it's got the little email icon telling me that it was an email that was sent. So now I can double click on that, and it'll actually open up the email details itself. Remember, this was the email that was sent automatically. There it is, automatic email to notify you. You got a quote, it's attached to the email. And then if I want to actually see the quote itself, I click on Files, and then I just simply click here on the PDF link, and there it is. There is my quote layout that I've designed with the report designer. All right, so that's my quote. It's now been sent out, and hopefully the customer then says, all right, well, that all looks great. So now what I want to do is I actually want to go ahead with that quote. So it's really, really simple. I simply go in here and I'll copy that order across and turn it into a sales order. Okay, so again, very, very straightforward process. Go here into Actions, and I'll say Copy Order. And I'm going to copy it to a sales order. My order number is new. Now, do I want to recalculate my unit prices? Do I want to recalculate discounts in case anything has changed? I've got that flag that I can either leave that on or I can switch it off. I'm going to leave it on. I'll say OK. So that's now working away in the background, and there you can see it's now a sales order. The order type is now sales order. So that's all great. Do I want to make any changes there? No, I don't. So I'll hit the save button. So what's the next step after this? Well, the next step after creating the sales order is to potentially go ahead and push that out and create a shipment. So I can do that from here. Important point to note with Acumatica. So far what I've been doing is I've been following a fairly sequential transaction by transaction process. But if you look across here in the navigation panel, you'll actually see we have 4 options. I have my work area. I then have this area which is called processes. I have my reports, and I have my setup or my configuration. In the processes, what I'm able to do, let's say for example, I've got 20 people all processing sales orders. I want to pause at lunchtime and then say, okay, that's our cutoff. Now we're going to start the shipping process. And I want to take all of today's sales orders and turn them into picking slips or turn them into shipments. I can do that. And then I want to, at 3 o'clock, turn all those shipments into invoices. I can do that, and I can do all of that in bulk. So you can do it either way. But right now I'm just doing it one by one just to take you sequentially through the process. But please remember, you don't have to do it all one by one. If you've just in the last 2 hours entered 1,000 sales orders and you want to pick all of those, push them out to a mobile device so that all of your guys in the warehouse can go and start picking, push it out to your warehouse management solution. You can certainly do all of that. All right, but here's my sales order. So that's great. So again, my next step is to go ahead and create a shipment. So I click on create shipment. And again, it's asking me, hey, what are my shipment parameters? Which warehouse? What's my shipment date? It automatically picks up the defaults. So I'll go ahead there and I'll say, okay. And now it's creating the shipment. Now you'll see that underneath the sales order, I've actually got the ability to track their shipments, and you can specify different line items to go out on different shipments if you want to. It's really up to you. And you may recall one of the fields that I removed from the screen was the overship, undership parameters. So you can even set parameters there. If the guys went to go and pick it and they found out that they, the customer ordered 10, but you only had 8, and you had a 10% undership allowance, well, it wouldn't allow you to go ahead and ship the 8. If you had 9, then it would allow it because it's a 10% undership. All right, so again, all of those rules you can configure in Acumatica, so you don't have to worry about having people remember all the business rules that you set up. The software kind of acts like an extra person that sits there and basically rides shotgun on all the business processes to make sure that they're done the right way. All right, so there it is. There's my shipment. That's all great. Well, what can I do from here? I can go in and I can print my shipment confirmation, or I can print a picking list. So at any particular point in time, I can generate those reports. So if, let's say I want to print a shipment confirmation, or I can even, using EDI, I can send out an ASN, an advanced shipping notice, to let the customer know that this transaction is coming. But here it is. There you can see there's the shipment notice. If I'm going to use some basic processes just of sending out this document, I can print it, I can click send, I can send it out as an email. So let's say I want to hit send. What does it do? It's now saying, hey, you want to send out the email? Great. So it's going from me, it's automatically going to Robert Harris. Remember, he's our guy, he's our main contact at this customer. Send, easy for me to say. It's saying this shipment has been shipped. There it is. There's the email. And again, of course, this email is going to be sent out to him with an attachment which includes the PDF of the shipping notice. All right, so I can send that and I can say, yep, that's great, let's save it and close it. So that's now gone. That's all great. So I'm happy with that. Now what I can do, now that I've got my shipping confirmation, what I can do is I can now go back. So I've sent out my shipment confirmation and that's all great. So then I can now go back to my pick list. And once I'm back in my pick list, there it is, there's my shipment. I can now go back here and I can say, all right, now I want to confirm the shipment. So that's all good. My shipment is now confirmed. So we'll do our shipment confirmation. We'll let that run. Now, another little thing to note, anytime Acumatica is working, you get that little spinning wheel there, and then as soon as it's completed, you get a little green tick sitting behind that. So my shipment's confirmed. So now what's the next step? The next step is to go ahead and prepare my invoice. So I'll go and prepare my invoice. And so now I've prepared the invoice. You can see the system automatically comes up into the invoice screen. So that's all ready to go. So what's the next step after that? Well, the next step is to basically release the invoice. And once I've released the invoice, then our invoicing process is complete. Now I can email it from here as well, or I can again set up one of those workflows that as soon as the invoice gets created, it automatically gets emailed out to the customer using the contact record that's on file. So I'll just go ahead and I'll say release that invoice, give that a couple of seconds. And again, you can see our progress indicator is spinning around there, and then as soon as the invoice is done, I'll get my green tick back and we're good to go. So now that our invoice is released, what I can do is I can now go ahead and I can bring in the payment. So that's done. So I can go here into actions now, okay? And I can, if I want to, I can go ahead and I can write off the invoice. If I have the rights to do that, why would I want to do that? Probably wouldn't want to do that, but that option is there. Then I want to go ahead and do my final step and post the invoice. So I'll let that invoice post, and this is where basically it's now fully committed. All the accounting transactions have occurred, all the journal entries have been kicked across. So now if I look into my actions, I'm complete. I can go in here from a reporting perspective. I can't edit the AR anymore because the transaction is completed, and my invoice has already been mailed out as well, so I can no longer email out the original invoice. But I can still go in now into my reports, and again, remember across here in our navigation panel, this is where I've got my reports, and I can go here and I can print out the invoice again from here if I want to. Plus, of course, I've now got all of my audit trails that are available for me. So all of my details about the sales orders, all my order registers and everything like that, all of those transaction reports are sitting there available for me. So what's the next step? Well, now period of time has gone past and the customer is now due to pay for their invoice. So in order to receive the payment, what I need to do, I now go across here into finance, I go into my accounts receivable, and then I come across here into payments and applications. So I come up here into the payments and applications and I tell it, what am I receiving? Well, I'm going to receive a payment. Now this is going to be a payment coming from a customer, so the easiest thing to do is select a customer, and again I can find my customer, just go HSN, and there they are, Harris Systems and Networks. And then I can say, okay, well, how much am I getting? Well, I know they owe me $5,000, so let's keep it simple. If I just put in 5,000, all right, so that's my payment amount. And then what I can do is I can go down here and I can say load documents. So if I choose load documents, it just says, okay, give me a date range or some kind of parameters that I can select the invoices that this is going to apply to. So right now there's only one, so it's kind of academic. So I really don't need to worry about putting in that date range, but I can if I want to. So I just say load, and there it is. There's the invoice that we just created. Now if I want to make sure that's the correct one, okay, I can come in here, I can choose the reference number, it drills me down, opens up that invoice, there it is, yep. There was 10 of those Acer laptop computers at $500 each, so that's all good. Yet I'm definitely paying the right one. So once I've got that there, I'm okay with that. I can look at the application history. Well, there's no application history behind this because I haven't done any payments before this one for this particular customer. If I've got orders there that potentially I want to apply a payment against orders before they've been invoiced, I can do that. I can look in here at the financial details so I can see, well, exactly how is this going to post across, which branch, which accounts receivable account in the GL is going to be updated, the payment details are going to come through, and then if there are any finance charges that are applicable here as well, I can see those there, but I don't have any of those. So what do I want to do? Well, fundamentally, I just want to go in here and I want to say release. That now releases my payment. The payment is being allocated. You can see my transaction is now complete, and that's done. My payment is now finished. So the invoice has now been paid. What's left to do is actually go through and then bank the funds. So then at the end of the day, or whenever you choose to do your banking, you would then want to go into your cash management module, and you would then want to go and enter a bank deposit. And then when you're going in and entering your bank deposit, fundamentally what you're doing is you're collecting all of the transactions and you're preparing those and processing through to the bank, doing the necessary documentation and providing the necessary transaction in the system that you can then go and do your bank reconciliation against. But fundamentally that takes us through our lead to cash process. So what do? Let's summarize. We started off, we created a lead. We turned that lead into an opportunity. We then said, okay, well now that opportunity has become a sale, so we created the business account. We turned that business account into a customer. We then created a quote because the customer came back to us and said, yep, I now want to purchase. So we created that quote. We then got the okay from the customer on the quote, so we turned the quote into an order. We then turned the order into a picking slip, the picking slip into an invoice. The invoice we then receipted the payment for. So again, remember, a whole range of very specific one-off transactions that I did there to go from start to finish and follow that transaction the whole way through. But don't forget, I pointed out that we also have under all of our modules, remember when you go across here into the navigation panel, you have your processes. So again, if I'm doing these things en masse, I've just spent all morning and I've got my 20 or so sales order people, they're putting in their transactions, I can then go and turn those into picking slips en masse. I can then go and turn those picking slips into invoices once they've been picked, and so on and so forth. So again, hopefully that gives you an understanding of how complete the functionality is that's available inside Acumatica.